Man, this song reminds me of my ex in campus. Hi Joe, how you doing, man? He dedicated this one to me, still liquid but Pia Badutka Chana. It is a life in Nairobi. Good afternoon to you. My name is Miriam Angel, and this is the Sunday Spice. It is 3 minutes past 3 p.m. I'm here in the studio with LEVI. So LEVI, first of all, mimi nakuita LEVI KONES. Is it LEVI KONES or LEVI KONES?
It's KONES.
Ah, Jesus Christ, I decided to twang your name. It is KONES.
Yes.
LEVI KONES.
Yeah. It's a fairly common name in Rift Valley.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay, I said LEVI KONES. And so now let me just give you a proper introduction. LEVI is an author. The book is There Is No Useless Experience, 20 Lessons from the University of Life. If you're streaming, I have the book right in my hand. And of course, I believe we're giving away two books on air as well. Now, what I want to say, while I was reading this book, I did the first lesson, the second and the third. I was like, what's going on? Should I even continue reading this book? Should I tap out? I was mad at you while I was reading this book.
Why?
I was mad. I was like, no, wait. Aren't you learning? Why do you keep on repeating the same thing? What's going on? How you doing?
I'm good.
Let's just talk about what inspired this book, first of all.
I guess it was a reflection of the self. Actually, in the year 2018, I got cancer.
Yeah.
And I write about it here. And when I did, and things were not, at some point, things were not looking so good. And after I got better and I got into remission, I began thinking, people would tell me, write about the experience that you had with cancer, write about, you are going through chemo, going through surgeries, that kind of thing. And I thought, why not? And then I thought, this is not the only thing I've gone through. So many other things that have happened in my life that, God has taken me through and I have survived them. Sometimes we only focus on the sicknesses because they stop us from daily life.
True.
And we never really stop to see, I could have died in this particular other thing. And, I got through that and I got through that. So that is how the concept of the book began.
Okay.
And when I started writing it, you'll realize there's a lot of mistakes I made when I was in my 20s. That I have, I'm guessing that's why you're getting angry.
Yes, because this was in your 20s.
Yes.
And you made a lot of mistakes. And the reason why, if you are listening in, the reason why you should actually get this copy is because he's shared a lot of experiences in his 20s. And I feel like so many people can learn from that. And one of the things that I learned from this book was actually the first lesson where you talk about knowing your value.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how many times you just did certain things, you found yourself in different jobs, and you just didn't ask for better pay.
Oh, that happened a lot. And I think it started from that, right from teenagehood, because what would happen, and a lot of people who are in their teens, this happens to them. They have a talent or a skill, and they are called to help out, maybe in their local community, in their church, to a friend of their parents. And they never really get to actually monetize that.
Yeah.
And when we say that, sometimes people think, oh, that's so mean because, you're young, you're gathering experience. There's a tendency for, Kenyans to tell you, this is for your experience.
Yes.
But then we get to misuse that, and we do it a lot. There's not a shortage of people who will misuse you for experience. There's so many. And right from the onset, when you do not get to see what your value is and actually peg something to what you're doing, it ends up, walking with you throughout your life.
Yeah.
I didn't learn this lesson until I was in my 30s, actually.
And you say that in your book because it's like 30s, that, whoa, 30s is late. Or maybe not. I don't know. It's not late, but why did you find it hard to just ask, to just say, I need to be paid for this?
Because you're trying to be Mr. Nice Guy. And a lot of people are trying to be that. We are trying to please people. We are hoping that in us doing a favor for them, they will see some worth in us and then help us with another favor. But that happens, how do I put it? Very rarely.
Yeah.
Most people don't mind, using you and moving on to the next person.
True.
And then, you'll discover, and here's a shocker. when you go somewhere, like for example, I used to MC a lot when I was now in my 20s. I'd go to weddings, I'm MCing, and I'm told, oh, thank you, good job, you did so well.
Yes.
That was so nice. And then the treasurer, the person who comes to make payments and stuff, even has the audacity to tell you, I'm making big payments first.
Oh.
And
you did the bulk of the work.
Oh, yeah. It's not taken as a serious thing. And that happens a lot when you're younger. People tend to then overlook you. But you find that they'll call, so-and-so next time. Then they'll pay him a huge amount of money.
Okay.
For something you could have done or you did, at some point. And that's when the cookie really begins to crumble.
So did it really affect you later on when you realized I need to start charging for this? I need to start charging for this service.
Yeah, and I was charging, but sometimes, even in the charging, you charge, you find yourself that you have undercharged yourself. You have undervalued yourself, and you are afraid of valuing yourself properly because you think it will lead to loss of the opportunity.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's the fear really for many people starting out is let's just try and do something so long as you're inside. Maybe it'll get better. But that stops us from making, the moves we should have made much younger in life.
Okay. You talk about your experience with alcohol and how it messed up a lot of opportunities for you.
Yeah.
And I just want us to share that in a bit. But right now, because I was reading this book and I was like, whoa, are you not learning? Are you not learning? Are you not learning? So I'm talking to LEVI KONES. The book is There's No Useless Experience, and he has shared a lot. He was even arrested in the States. So if you got any questions, do talk to me at SpiceFM KE, or do talk to LEVI as well at SpiceFM KE. The Reason by Hubis Tank right here on Spice FM 94.4. Good afternoon to you. It is 14 minutes past 3 p.m. My name is Miriam Angel, and this afternoon I'm talking to LEVI KONES. He is an author. The book is There Is No Useless Experience, 20 Lessons from the University of Life. He's sharing his experiences in this book. And LEVI, I want to take you to page 19. That is lesson 2. Okay. You say, in the year 2009, I landed a job at an international NGO. As a bus driver ferrying in their guests from abroad. It was a good and easy job, and because of my gift of gab. Now, the other thing that you also talk about is that you lost this job due to liquor. Talk to me about how alcohol actually interfered with you back then.
Well, I think I wasn't in the right frame of mind at that moment in time, to be honest. I think I carried a lot of baggage from what had happened to me in the past.
Yeah.
And I don't know, with many people who have had a problem with alcoholism, it doesn't start overnight. It starts with, every weekend, then it becomes possibly every other day, and you begin to realize there's a problem when people point out to you, you're at a party, and even amongst drunkards, somebody said you drank too much.
Yes.
And these are drunkards amongst drunkards, when your own,
mates,
have to point out to you that you're a bit much. That's a problem.
It's a problem.
And then sometimes you need it in the morning for you to function properly. There's that joke about kutoa lock, but it's really a serious affair. If you really have to toe a lock, there's a problem.
Yes.
And this was beginning to happen to me with this job. And the more I got reliant on alcohol, the more, of course, at first it was to my friends. Then it started seeping out towards my job. So, assignments you're supposed to do and do on time.
Yeah.
You realize you didn't do that assignment because you were sleeping, you were too tired, you just didn't want to do anything because you were nursing a hangover, or there was something else you were doing that was alcohol related. And when you took a bit of alcohol, you did a few things, but then you kind of slipped back. So they began to notice that there was, some misses in some of the things that I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And the efficiency levels were dropping. And it was coupled with some other factors. But I think for me, because this book is largely, in retrospect of myself.
Yeah.
For me, I know at the heart of it was the alcohol.
Okay. So I want to take you to, you applied for visa.
Yes.
To go study in the States. That's sports medicine.
Yes.
Very good. You're super happy, super excited about it.
Yes.
But a lot happened on the way.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about that whole. Let's talk about the beginning. You get the visa, you go to the States. What happens?
I get freedom, so to speak. I grew up in a home that was very Christian. The rules were very tight. The way things were done were very much in the religious way. So for me, going to America was just, Independence Day. I could go and, pierce my earrings, get my ears. I could get a tattoo. I could, get dreadlocks. I was rebellious in the sense that I wanted to, well, a lot of people would say the same thing. It would be discovery of self. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was just about 22 years old, 21 when I was going. So things went haywire quick because I went to school for a particular course that I did not really apply for. My sisters want to push me to go and do it. And the only reason I did it was because I wanted to get a visa to go to the US. And so I've arrived, I'm in school. And then because those days you could work X amount of hours. It would be 20 legally. But of course, we would work illegally more than those 20 hours because there were ways around the system. And I found myself making a lot of money at a young age. So for me, the maths was just simple. We go to school to gain knowledge, to gain money. But here I was gaining the money already. So to me, I saw
what was the point?
What was the point?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I dropped out. And after I dropped out, things just went from bad to worse. Now I was supporting, you know how it is when you're in your 20s. And, I really admire guys who are in their 20s because they can be clubbing today, tomorrow they're at work, the following day they're clubbing, the next day they're at work. That kind of energy that's just boundless. That's what was happening with me.
Okay.
So you have a lot of time for play. You also have a lot of time for work because you need the money and you're kind of mixing the two. But at some point, that juggling act, comes undone somewhere.
Yeah.
So for me, it wasn't even the drinking that kicked me out of that job in the first place. It was really the fact that, I had lied that I was an American citizen.
Yes.
And then there came a time when they wanted to verify documents. And there I was, undocumented.
So you actually forgot why you went to the States in the first place.
Oh, I did. I like how you say that. You think I'm the only one.
No, because in your book, I was reading.
Do you know how many people forget what they were going to do?
Please tell me about that. Because I want to know about your experience. Because in this book, you talk about I was living with this person and with this person and with this Kenyan person, and then there were snitches, and I was like, what's going on?
I don't think
what's happening.
It hasn't changed. You'll be surprised. You're telling me. I like how you say, you didn't learn. Do you know that there are people who will read this book and they will still not learn? There's that thing that people want to make mistakes of their own, and when you're young, you don't want to be told much. You want to be able to be the one making decisions. You want to feel like an adult. And in the decision making that you're making, you don't really think some things through.
So you went to the States. You forgot that. You forgot? What?
Yeah,
I didn't
forget. I threw it away.
You threw it away.
Yes.
And then wanasemanga siku ya mwizi ni 40.
Oh yeah.
Ukapatikana.
Oh yeah, big time.
Tell me about that.
So the start of my journey back was about 4 years later. By that time, I had been to several states, stayed in several places, gotten into all manner of things, relationships, kukosana na watu, those kind of things. And then eventually I ended up in Chicago.
Yeah.
So when I was there, I was working for the Motorola company. And at that moment in time, they shut down. They moved their plant to another state. And so I lost my job. So when I lost my job, I began thinking, what else can I do? It became very difficult to get a job in Chicago. So my first thought was I wanted to go back to where my sister was, which was in Kansas. And so I made a phone call, we talked about it, and I made arrangements to start moving back. But in my moving back, I made some plans to go through another state where I had a girlfriend who was staying there.
Yeah.
And that's when things really began to go wrong. When I got there, we went out, we got into an argument, and that began the series of me getting deported. Because I left her house in a half and a puff at night, drove some kilometers away and booked myself into a motel. Now, the thing is, the day I booked myself into this motel, what I was carrying on me was my passport. It was expired.
Yeah.
I had a driver's license, but for some reason I couldn't find it. So I checked in with this passport And because it was, post 9/11, they were very vigilant about, people, expired passports, things like that. So the guy actually gave me a room, but he did not tell me anything.
Okay.
And I went to sleep. And I had been driving for long since the early morning. I was drunk, combine those two and, you get really deep sleep.
Yes.
So I fell asleep and I was woken up in the morning by the sounds of, armed men busting into the room.
Yeah.
I heard that they had actually made announcements for me to come out, but I didn't hear them. I was so deep asleep. I think actually when I look back, it's a blessing that
But you didn't wake up at that moment?
Yes.
So they woke you up?
They woke me up. They arrested me.
Yeah.
They took me. Initially, I was thinking this arrest is probably about the way I've parked the car or maybe the fact that it's full of things. I was confused for a while until I was taken to the cop station and they said, you'll be here for the night, then we'll talk tomorrow. And the following day when the immigration guy showed up is when I knew that my goose was cooked.
Okay. So remember, I'm just giving you a bit of it because this is a beautiful book. When you were going to the airport first, when your mom and dad, your family, were actually taking you to the airport,
yes,
you were wasted the previous night.
Yes, I was.
And it was just, you felt like you were an embarrassment to your family.
Not that day, because that
Hebu nipatie story because I'm like, stop holding off. Vitu zenye umesema kwa hii kitabu, my friend.
This you're talking about this was the day I was leaving Kenya.
Yes.
That day, to be honest, Miriam, I think I just wanted to just enjoy the last day. And a friend of mine, we went on the town. Initially, we just wanted to go have lunch.
Yeah.
Say bye to my friends, hang out a bit. Because I was flying out that night. Come home. I don't know. It's still a big deal to go to America. So you can imagine how big it was.
We have to celebrate.
In 1999.
We have to say goodbye. Yes.
So we went around. There's an uncle of ours who gave us some money.
Yes.
And it was more money than we could ever imagine. I think it came to around 10 or 12,000 shillings at that moment in time. Never held that amount of money.
Yeah.
So we decided to go and, have some drinks, have some cocktails. I don't remember really the name of the cocktail. I think it was pina colada or something like that. But I remember trying, stuff I'd never tried before. And suddenly the room was spinning.
Yeah.
And we, my friends really tried to get me to drink water, those... to try and suppress the alcohol intake, but it was already too much and I was flying out and my parents were looking for me.
Yes.
So I had to get home where we were staying at my uncle's place, just not too far off from Bagadi Way. And we went there. I'm drunk. I'm trying to park, I'm being helped to park, but it became something that was being whispered, and then of course everyone got to know that this guy is going to the States tonight, but he's drunk.
Yeah.
And I think the embarrassment was really more on them than me.
Okay.
Because at that moment in time, I was...
You didn't care.
Yeah.
You're going to the States.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm leaving you guys.
The only thing that was a shocker a bit was my dad almost said, was actually saying he's not going anymore.
Okay.
And he had to be prevailed upon, to just let me go. So eventually when I was taken to the airport, I don't remember much of it. I do remember saying goodbye. But I don't remember what was really said.
Okay. So you've stayed, in your book, you also say that you were in the States for 5 years.
Yes.
Right? So on the day that you're leaving to the States, you're not in a good shape. You're wasted, right? When you're coming back, you're being deported.
Yeah. I came back with shorts and a t-shirt.
Yeah. Like we say, and you say it in your book, you've come with nothing.
Yeah.
I want you to tell me what was going through your mind. Like, what were
that
you
one was hard.
thinking of at that point?
It was difficult because the realization hit me hard, especially on the last flight home. You do those connections and then there's that connection that's taking you to Nairobi.
Yeah.
Now that one, you really think because, this is it. You messed up. You're here. You've done nothing for yourself. Your parents are much older. We are in Africa, so the parents are expecting, for us to be people they can be, they can depend on in the future. And here we are coming home like that. So for me, it was the hardest time, and it got even harder after that.
Yeah, you say it, but I want you to tell me.
Yeah.
That moment on that flight, on your way back, what was going through your mind? Did you feel like a failure?
Yes. I tried to drown it. I drank quite a bit, but it didn't help. It was one of those days when, you don't get drunk.
Yeah.
It was really bad. The weight of the excesses of my life was really on my shoulders.
So then your dad and your mom pick you up at the airport.
Yeah.
And you guys are driving to Eldoret.
To Eldoret, yes.
How was that drive?
It wasn't bad, actually, because, for the first time, my parents just told me, just tell us your story. What happened?
Yeah.
And so I talked and I talked and I talked. And they listened, And I don't know what they took away from it. Maybe just the fact that, he messed up. The way you're saying, why didn't you stop?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you change? Maybe that's what was a take home, because when we got to Eldoret after a couple of days, we were not exactly talking now.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. This is the Sunday Spice, and I'm talking to LEVI KONES, and he's shared beautiful experiences in this book. There is no useless experience. And I know you're listening in, and you could actually relate to some of the things that he's talking about. But also he says that you could always get back up. We'll be talking about that in a bit. That is Drop It Like It's Hot by Snoop Dogg featuring Pharrell Williams right here on SpiceFM 94.4. Good afternoon to you. My name is Miriam Angel. It is 24 minutes to 4 p.m. and I'm in the studio with LEVI KONES, and we're talking about his book, There Is No Useless Experience, and 20 lessons from the University of Life. I want to give a shout out to Jackie Kirinya, who's tuned in. Hi, Jackie. So I'm giving away 5 books. I am giving away 5 books. All you need to do is tell me why you need it, and you can tag me at SpiceFMKE. Tell me why you need this book, and it's gonna be yours. I feel like you need to read this. If you're a listener, you need to read this. It's brilliant. I got mad at him, and I was telling you, LEVI, that I got so pissed at you, and I was like, why are you not learning? Why? So Jackie, since you have petitioned for your brother and your sister, I'm actually gonna give 1 book to that family. Okay, so Jackie, you can DM us your ID number, your full names, and you're gonna get that book. LEVI.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your alcohol was so bad, you decided to get into rehab. But that's not just it. Uliingia rehab kwanza ukasema aizi ukakimbia.
Yeah. But let me give a shout out to my friend first, because he's giving out some books.
Okay, yes, please.
There's a gentleman listening from Niger. He's called Captain John Plapan. He's a pilot. He has actually offered some of these books, so
great.
Really, thank you, John. So about rehab, I actually got into rehab, yes, and it was, how would I put it? I would say it was voluntary, but I'd really reached a place where I was at my wit's end.
Yeah.
And one of the things we really have to get to, in terms of, like, if you want to make a change, you really have to be the one to make the decision.
Yeah.
To make the change. Too many times we push people into rehabs and then it doesn't work.
Yes.
And then we expect it to be a magic pill, but that's not how it works. There's a friend of mine who went to rehab before I did, and I noticed that he had really changed his life, and I wanted that.
Mm-hmm.
And then that inspired me to try and see if I could do the same thing for myself. But the interesting thing about going to rehab is people think it's only just about dealing with the alcohol. But
yes.
You deal with a lot more than just that. Because it puts you in a place where you have to contend with yourself, your decisions, and the things that have gone wrong with your life. And for the first time, you actually take responsibility for everything that has happened that you have caused,
mm-hmm.
and nobody else. And I don't think you can get a better place than that, than in a situation like a rehab. And it could be anything else.
Yeah.
But, in that situation, you're able to look at yourself for who you really are and for the mistakes that you have really made without, pinning it on anybody else. Because sometimes we have got too many excuses. So and so could have done this for me. They could have done this. They should have not
put a blame
done
on
that.
other people.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So for me, that experience was really good in that regard, especially because this particular rehab was very backward. It didn't have electricity. It had no running water. We had to, get water from the well. It was a very humbling experience, but it was a very necessary one.
Okay, so you learned.
Yes.
You came out a better person.
I think so. I have references to that place up to date.
Yes.
Okay,
let's talk about lesson 7. In lesson 7, you say, In the course of life's journey, you will hurt people who may never forgive you. Forgive yourself, learn the lesson, and soldier on. There was a guy who gave you, I could call it a second, a third, and a fourth chance.
Yeah,
But you broke his trust.
I did.
Let's talk about that guy.
Yeah, this gentleman was a friend of my father's. So after I got back and things were not working out well, and we were butting heads with my dad back in Eldoret, he called me to Nairobi, and he said, I've got an opportunity for you.
Yeah.
So he gave me a job, he gave me a place to live, he gave me a company vehicle, and I was his transport manager, and I was also taking care of some properties he had in the city. And I began, I made my own books.
Okay.
And I began, stealing from him. So I falsified mileage claims as well, I took a lot of money from him, actually, a lot of money. And initially I was covering my tracks, because I had my own receipt book and I was doing my own things. But because I was managing still my lifestyle of partying and, and all that, I think it's first started with my character that he got wind of, because he would visit me almost every Saturday and we would have a chat.
Yeah.
And I remember him asking me a few questions. Are you okay? Did you have too much to drink last night? He had begun to be suspicious. And I think following his suspicions, he decided to do an investigation.
Yeah.
And so he found out there was this plethora of things hiding in the, in the closet, so to speak. So I do remember the day he called me and asked me, have you been doing these things? And I said no. But he had receipts, he had paperwork. He just put them on the table.
And that was it.
And then I said, yeah. So I started saying I'm sorry and stuff. And he was like, I could take you to jail, but I won't. I just want you to leave. He said, I'm going to give you, he gave me a pickup truck to carry my things. Told me, I'm sending you the driver, go and pick up your stuff and just go home. But when I was leaving his office, he was crying.
Yeah. Because he trusted you.
Yeah. And I felt so bad.
But you even went back to apologize and he couldn't have any
Yeah,
of it.
even when I went back to apologize, he didn't have time.
Yeah.
But I understand.
Okay.
I understand totally. That's why I say, learn the lesson, because the things you can't take back.
That's true.
You messed up. It went so bad. You can't, ile maziwa yamemwagika hayazoleki.
Yes.
Yeah. You can't. So now what do? The only thing you can do is, after you have made your apologies, is to just make a pledge to yourself that you would never do this again to somebody else.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you had a stint with Paul Kagame as well, LEVI.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what?
That, by the way, was unplanned.
This is why. This is why I almost stopped reading this book. I was like, no, not another.
No. What happened with him was, he did a tweet to his legal team. It was in 2015 August.
Yes.
And he was telling them, that he was praising them because they had won a case removing term limits in his country so that he could be president really for life. Okay. So then I tweeted him. I mean, I saw it. I follow the president of Rwanda, so I saw his tweets. Yes. Then I just replied. I said, I hope, sir, that you will not ruin your legacy by being president for life. And then he tweeted back. Now, when he tweeted back, I did not see it.
Yeah.
I was actually traveling to Eldoret that day, so I switched off my phone. I mean, there's so many tweets people write to presidents, and they don't reply.
That's true.
But he wrote back and he said, worry more about your own legacy if you have any to worry about. Ooh. So his tweet became the issue because it was picked up by everybody.
Okay.
It was picked up by BBC, by CNN. It was picked up by even local TV stations here. And then Kenyans started something called, Someone Tell Kagame. And they were telling him off, you're a dictator, you want to be president for life, blah, 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 blah. And suddenly I was getting phone calls, even from people in Rwanda telling me, you guy, it's over for you. Do you know what happens to people like you? Do you know, for a long time I was walking around with my brother as my bodyguard, just in case I get nabbed. And I haven't been to Rwanda. There are rumors that I am persona non grata there, but I don't know. But it was an innocent tweet.
LEVI, how's your relationship with your dad?
Not good.
Why?
You want the radio version of the truth?
No, tell me the truth. That's what we do here.
Yeah. I told you I grew up in a Christian home.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my father was a church elder, and then he was a pastor. But unfortunately, after he had been around, our family for 38 years, he left and got another family, and that began a great moment of distress between us. It was briefly sorted when I got unwell, and he came to visit, and we became, buddies again. But then again, we fell out after that. And part of the reason is because, in an African setting, even when a man has more than one wife, he does take care of the other wives.
Yes.
In our case, it was complete abandonment. So because I am the eldest son, it thrust me into a position that I should never have been unless he had died. So in terms of taking care of my mother, in terms of managing things at home, in terms of, being the person who is the one who is the final word, so to speak.
Yes.
So that has put us in complete loggerheads. That, along with some other issues to do with selling of family properties and things like that, and the relationship is not good. We haven't spoken in going to do 3 years, maybe somewhere there.
Oh, because in your book you actually talk about your dad. You call him Saddam.
Yeah.
And you put it's not a good relationship, and it's more like he looks at you as the kid who always messes up.
I think so. I don't blame him also, because I think his expectations of what I would have become were also messed up by my constant sort of rebellious nature. But, from the beginning, parents of those days, some of them, some people grew up with parents who were their buddies, who they hung out with, and things like that. In my home, for example, that wasn't really the case. Most of the conversations we would have would be about your homework, your assignments, exams, teachers, schoolmates, those kind of things. There wasn't really a moment where you'd be laughing with your dad about anything. Even if you watched, TV and he showed up, you'd switch it off and take off.
True. Yeah.
So then that kind of foundation builds itself into the teenagehood, where you don't really have a discussion. Like, we never talked about girls, about, money, about alcohol. He never told me he ever drank. I never knew about it. But although I had, from the grapevine, relatives will tell you, your dad used to be like, like this, like that, but never from him.
Okay.
So there's already that wide, bath between the two of you, even as you're growing up. And because, like me, I was the eldest of the boys, really, the discovery for me, my brothers would say they would discover through an elder brother. For me, I had no one else to discover through. So I was using like people outside, friends who had elder brothers, who had people. And I think that's some of the reasons, not to absolve myself, but I think some of those are the reasons that got me into a bit of trouble in terms of emulation of other people.
Okay. Okay. So I still have a bit of questions, because I want to know, this book is, there's no useless experience, but also you have grown now, you've learned, you learned from your lessons and you made better choices. I want to know how you did that. And there's a last chapter where you say you have to find God for yourself.
Yeah.
I want us to talk about that when we come back. Okay.
All right.
My name is Miriam Angel. Good afternoon to you. I'm talking to LEVI KONES, and we're talking about his book, There's No Useless Experience. And I said I'm giving away 5 books. Now, Ian Kipkemboy, you're saying you need the book to learn more insights in simplified manner on Martha's life and its mistakes. You relate totally. Yes, Ian, I am giving you that book. Camille Kwambia, how you doing, my love? You say, I really need the book simply to read the interesting story. LEVI KONES is so inspiring. Yes, my love, I'm giving you a book. And Captain Peter, I see you there, you saying you need the copy. I am giving you the book. Now, what I need you guys to do is DM me at SpiceFM KE. I just need your full names, your ID number, and your phone number. Please DM me, okay? Then I will tell you how you can get a copy of the book. So, Levi, we're going to lesson 20. And lesson 20, you say, find God for yourself.
Yeah.
How did you find God?
Through struggle. First of all, the struggle with whether he exists or not. Okay. And I think a lot of us have had that at some point. And then, of course, the realization that he does, and not necessarily in the way we are told he does.
Yeah.
You know, I think the God I knew growing up was the one of fire and brimstone. You know, you don't do this, he does this. You know, you don't do this, he's just waiting for you to just chapa you kiboko.
Yes.
You know, just. But I think in self discovery and finding God, I have discovered that you can have a beautiful relationship with God as a father.
Yeah.
Who made you and knows your mistakes and knows how you do your things, and the only person who can take you through that particular journey of finding God is you. Once you make a decision to do that, you know, even if we were to use the Bible, Isaiah 57 says, you know, you will find me when you seek me with all your heart. Not because somebody else told you must come to this church. There's a lot of problems nowadays with people saying, you know, come to this ministry.
Yeah.
You know, and then we will show you God, or come here, we will show you God, or get prayed for by so and so.
Yeah.
You know, but that's not the way. And I think that particular self-discovery is really something that all of us have got a God-shaped hole in our hearts that we need to plug and fill. So we have to just seek it and find it, and it's good because it then gives you an anchor in your life. Even when you're doing things wrong, you can always go back.
That's true.
And have a discussion.
I want to know. 'Cause you've shared this book and you've shared stories in your 20s and literally your life experiences. I know we've not touched on your journey with cancer, because I felt like that's another conversation for another day. But also, this is just me telling you as a listener, there's a lot that I haven't shared with you on this book, so that's why you need to get a copy. Who is LEVI now?
Husband, father, got 3 beautiful girls. 4 if you include my wife.
Nice.
And I am, attempting to write. I'm a journalist by profession. I bounced back and got into journalism, incidentally. So and then I like to think of myself as somebody who is a lover of life. You know, we're only living this life once, so we are going to try to do as much as we can when we can. And
doing better?
Doing better, yes. And
yes.
You know what? I don't think, in writing a book like this, doesn't mean that I've reached that pedestal, where I can say I don't make mistakes.
That's why I asked, who is LEVI now,
Yeah. I try to learn.
Good.
But I try to learn quicker.
Okay.
Because some of the lessons I took to learn in this book took too long for me to get them.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, LEVI, where can we get the book?
Currently, not exactly in any library. I'm a budding writer, so find me on my social media pages. Find me on Facebook, on Twitter. Am I allowed to give a number?
Yes.
Yeah, 0722 470 238.
And your socials as well?
Yes. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LEVI KONES, all of them. Just write me a message and I'll be able to get back to you.
All right. You got it right there. If you want the book, There Is No Useless Experience from LEVI by LEVI KONES, you know where to get it. And I've also given away 5 copies. I've actually given away 4. So I'm looking for one person. I think my last listener is Kevin Macrae. I see you there. You say, I really need that book because I'm equally in such a scenario. Thank you so much for coming through, my dear.
Thank you.
You are amazing.
Thank you very much.
All right, then. Well, it is time for me to head out. Remember, Sunday Spice every single Sunday from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. I got you covered it all through the week. We have a lot of shows on the SpiceFM. On SpiceFM, that is the Situation Room, the Adults in the Room, the Spice Drive, Sugar and Spice, and everything nice. Catch you next Sunday.
Spice.